Welcome to today's video on discovery in ServiceNow Express. IT environments today have a number of different assets within them, from printers to switches and network devices, computers and servers from Macs to PCs. Users are generally always keeping their machines in different states. The IT department is scrambling to try to figure out who has what the configurations are, the settings so to speak, the RAM deployed, and other information like operating systems, software, and so on. We can actually pull all this data with minimal effort through the agentless discovery solution provided by ServiceNow Express, which will automatically populate your CMDB records with all the relevant data at a scheduled basis. This means your dashboards and reports will be crystal clear in terms of the actual state of your business environment. And since it's an agentless technology and you don't need to install software on every single machine, what we do is we sweep ranges of IPs to make sure we're minimally invasive and, so to speak, take up very little bandwidth on your network. We use a phased approach to discover all those IP-based devices that we mentioned. Now, what we're going to be expecting to discover, we're going to find all kinds of servers, software, computer information, network gear, printers, and UPSs. Now, when we talk about how this agentless technology works, it's a very simple visualization. Basically, we have ServiceNow Express sitting in the cloud, protected by our unrivaled data security. Now, behind your own data security and firewalls, you have your environment, all those different printers, computers, servers, and network devices. So what we do is we allow you to install what we call this mid server. It's not a physical server, it's actually a lightweight Java application, and you can deploy it on either a virtual machine or a physical machine. And we recommend deploying it on a Windows computer so it can properly pull out what WMI calls other Windows data. And what it does then is based off those different what we call probes and sensors that Express will run in the back end, it'll interrogate and pull all that data from those different devices you have and send it encrypted by 128-bit by default right back to ServiceNow Express. So this is how we bridge the gap between your items that are on-prem and the CMDB sitting in the ServiceNow cloud. Now this works great because you can deploy as many mid servers as you'd like, meaning if you do subnetting, you'll deploy a mid server in each subnet so it could sweep the ranges it's allowed to communicate with. If you have geographically multiple locations across the United States or the world, you can easily also deploy a mid server at every one of your offices. That'll ensure you're pulling all the data and getting it into your CMDB. Now, how do we actually run discovery? It's a very simple 4-step process that runs in the back end. Now, we've kept a very easy to use front end on top of this, so it's nothing you need to worry about. But do be aware we're being very optimized in our process in that we do a scan phase, where first let's pretend you're scanning 100 IPs. Our discovery, our mid server, is going to send out little Shazam probes to each of those 100 IP addresses and checking which are alive. So out of those 100, our scanning phase might tell us these 10 IPs are alive and have occupying devices. The next step is in classification, where our discovery goes in and it says, okay, of these 10 alive IPs, what are they? So this is the step where we figure out we actually are talking about 5 Windows computers, perhaps, and 5 printers. So now that we know we have 5 Windows computers, 5 printers, just that high-level information, we go into identification, where it basically determines, hey, is this computer or printer one that exists in my CMDB, or one that I need to create newly? So that determines if it's an insert or update. After that designation is made from the identification phase, we hit the exploration phase, where it runs these different calls, SSH, WMI, depending on what type of device it's connected to, interrogating it and basically pulling back the information it needs. RAM, operating system, software, just to name a few areas that are commonly found. This means we limit target utilization, limit network bandwidth, and ensure your CMDB has integrity. Keep in mind that all this maintenance though is kept in the back end. All you simply need to do is deploy that mid server and define your ranges. You will be able to have access to a number of logs as well to help you troubleshoot if any issues do occur. Maybe you don't have credentialed set for accessing an actual device. Maybe it can't communicate due to a firewall issue or other connection issue. So it's going to be easy to troubleshoot if an issue does arise. So here, as we mentioned, we're having a very simple, easy to use front end when it comes to our discovery solution. A wizard-driven point-and-click process. And all that is managed, of course, right in your same ServiceNow instance, your single system of record, alongside everything else. There, you'll be able to manage your credentials used, schedule when these discoveries should run, check the status on those scheduled, what did we find, and finally logs of any information, error, or just success that did occur. Now the results is, as we mentioned, the data you're expecting. It's the same platform, the same CMDB records that you are used to populate, maybe manually, maybe through REST, maybe through an Excel import, that now you're automatically having populated via this agentless mid server. This means your reports are going to be fresh, up to date with rich data, and your administrators are already used to the look and feel of administrating such information. So we're going to see that Express Discovery mid server that we just made with the wizard and that we just installed. We're going to see it already in the instance when that connection is a success. We're going to see low-level data such as the router, network, host that this mid server is on, as well as any log-level information, which is useful to see if you're running into any issues or to understand what your mid server is doing. You can go ahead and you can go and look into mid server statistics. You can restart the mid server, upgrade the mid server. Basically, all the low-level information regarding what we're actually doing. Now, at the high level, though, keep in mind what we've made is what's called a discovery schedule. So this peak schedule that we made with the wizard, it's this schedule that's running on the mid server that you picked at the frequency that you've picked. So you can make as many of these schedules as you'd like to, covering the different frequencies you're looking for, utilizing the different mid servers you're looking for. Now the IP ranges went ahead and they automatically put themselves into different IP ranges to scan. So we could see the 192.168 alongside the 10.0.1.0.24 is all being discovered. And every single iteration of our schedule, when it runs either manually with a Discover Now or at a set frequency, that's going to go ahead and display itself in these discovery status fields here. So the discovery status that we just ran on that new environment here, we can see the record by clicking it. This will reveal to us what the current items are it's conducting. So here I understand the mid server, this is my mid server, it's going ahead and it's doing the discovery. So far it's started. And as it continues to make updates, it's going to populate the ECC queue, which is the communication channel between the instance and the mid server. And I see all the high-level information of what step it's currently at over here in my discovery log. So this helps me troubleshoot if there's any error with the connection or with the credential. I'll be able to understand that all here. Now the next item to keep in mind is you can at any time also view a discovery timeline, which shows us a visual breakdown of exactly what is it attempting to run and what has it found. So you could see here my Shazam probes, this is that scanning phase, when they went out and they just tried to figure out what's alive, what's out there. And then based off of that, we're going to run specific commands. So here I could see I've got an AD server that I pulled. We could see that I've got a vCenter server that I pulled. We can see I have just a device that this IP hasn't been classified properly, meaning we may not have credentials. And we could see again another AD server. So as these different objects get defined and are coming through, we can actually click in to that discovery timeline record to see the underlying data of what we ran. So here, this classify command, it's a Windows WMI classify. This is what came back. It was our Shazam probe, which returned to us the following value. Now, you're really not going to be interested in this low-level information. Really, we care about the CMDB item that would be created. So before I jump into that CMDB item, you could see already we've got a number of additional classifications and items running in our discovery. As I go ahead and refresh here, we can see our discovery log has already 17 records created, where I could see all that information level. What did it find? What was an error? My warnings, SSH command, no valid credential found. So you'll be able to come here and understand, where do I need to troubleshoot? These are the devices I need to troubleshoot. Looks like my credentials just didn't work. I need to update these. At the same time, though, importantly, it's discovering and finding as much as it possibly can, which is really an important note. Unlike traditional discovery tools, which just discover or don't, since we use that phased approach, we'll get as far along the process as we can. So here, we found that there's 5 live devices out there. Sure, we can't connect because we don't have, as we saw, the credentials, but at least we know that there's something out there exhibiting and, on this IP range. Also, you could see maybe beyond the scanning phase, which is just as far as these got, maybe it got also to the classification phase, but it didn't quite get to identification and exploration. So here we could see it did the classification of that service, and it went and created a CI here for this AD server. So you'll be able to understand all the devices we found. So let's click into there. We'll see for that specific 192.168.11.5 AD server all the underlying discovery log information. I can again view that timeline if I wanted to, but let's click in to that underlying CI. Because at the end of the day, this is really what we're interested in. We're interested in all the data that we are populating. So here, my AD server is a VM. I could see it's VMware. It's called the AD server, and it has installed on it the following software. So we could see 23 software pieces, and this is great because it goes ahead and it helps us with our software asset management. And additionally, keep in mind, on this server, we can add any of those missing fields that we feel like we need. So I'm going to go in there, go into my form design, and add some of those fields of data that I really want. Items like perhaps my CPU name. Items like perhaps, what type of class is this? All those common areas that I'm now interested in. DNS, gateway, domain. Some of these fields may have data, may not, depending on what calls can actually be returned. But the idea is we can now throw that all on there. You don't have to be limited to just what's on the form already, because really we're populating all this different pieces of information. So areas like our operating system, areas like our RAM, our MAC address, all these common core things to help us understand the state of this machine. Do we need to deploy them more hardware? Do we need to upgrade them? Are they running into specific issues? And we're going to throw all those on there. Now, as we can see, I added those fields and reloaded, and immediately we are provided a wealth of data. The IP address, the operating system version, I can tell I'm on a Windows 2008 R2 standard. We can see the RAM. We can understand exactly what the default gateway is. We can understand the class. It's a Windows server, what the CPU name is, the manufacturer, the model ID, the serial number. This wealth of information that we're now auto-populating. And when I head back over to my discovery dashboard, I can see all that information visually. I can understand what discoveries are currently running, what's been newly discovered, there's that one Windows server there, any unused credentials I've had, and then again, that map of what discoveries are coming up.